Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. It is the 2nd of June, Tuesday. Markets, kind of all over the place, to be honest. So there's this question, do the markets care about riots? And I think I would say that at this moment, they don't. And I mean, honestly, it doesn't really affect most companies. Let's say you're Nike, yeah, your store gets, looted and destroyed. That is a cost, but it's actually a relatively trivial cost compared to your overall earnings. I don't know. That's not going to be enough. That could maybe bring down individual companies, but it's probably not going to be enough to bring down the larger index because even retail stores are a very small part of the index. So you're going to kind of get this thing where, like, really, it's not going to affect them. And not only that, but I mean, the big thing was Donald Trump saying yesterday, if Democrat mayors and governors don't take charge and stop the looting, that he's going to step in and do something. And this is good for markets if that happens, quite frankly. I mean, they come in and the rioting and the destruction stops. That is good for businesses. So there is a little bit of a depressed sentiment, and especially since the rioting in New York is particularly bad right now, it is definitely going to affect the psychology of the traders in New York, but I would not expect a sell-off off of it. So let's look at what happened overnight. Where is it? This one. Looking overnight. Well, let's do it from here. Right. So we had an okay day, then kind of up to the 60 area. And then, sentiment kind of pushed things down in the pre-market hours, but then during the session, they came back up to 70. So they're still trading really wide ranges, which kind of bothers me, but that is just the market right now, I guess. Also, we could realize there's there's going to be some real resistance at 3,100 and definitely 3,200. So I would expect the ranges to continue to contract. Another thing is that China basically said, "Oh, hey, that whole soybean thing, like we're not doing anything with the soybeans. That was all just a rumor." So some of the things that kind of scared markets yesterday, and I think that was a lot of the rally today. Okay, we do have some bill auctions in the treasuries today, so we should be on the lookout for the icebergs and all of that. There is some downward pressure in the treasuries, but it's still just kind of within the range that they've been trading for quite some time now, around that 28.5 area. So I'm not too sure that I really have a good trade here. I mean, bias would be long in general, but now I'm noticing that the 6J is taking a real dip. The dollar is down quite a bit lately. Or now we're down below 97. So that's kind of both good and bad, isn't it? What is our yield curve doing right now? What is the yield curve doing? 2s and 10s are moving up. 30 years moving up. 5 years moving up. Cool. So they're all steepening. Still, I mean, it's kind of generally been a steepener. Steepener's not necessarily a good thing, right? But we're kind of in a bizarre environment. So, what else we got? Let's check out Twitter. Mm-mm. Secretary Pompeo, for the first time in 30 years, Hong Kong authorities denied permission to hold the Tiananmen Vigil if there's any doubt about Beijing's intent to deny Hong Kongers a voice in choice, making them the same as mainlanders. So much for two systems. Zoom in on the church photos to see faces of Trump advisors. Okay. Don't see anything special or interesting about it. That was a real stunt. So yesterday, Donald Trump pulled the stunt where they cleared out Lafayette because there's this story about him being forced into the bunker in the basement. And people were saying, "Oh, he's scared." So we cleared it out and walked around the streets of DC to prove that he could do that. This one's kind of interesting because people will call it theater, but it kind of proves a point too, doesn't it? He can do what he wants if he really wanted to. I would, not loot things. That's my recommendation to people. Oh yeah, there's this whole thing. Juan Williams wants George Bush to endorse Joe Biden, which I think is kind of funny. I don't know. We're kind of on a general downtrend. We came back from 3075. I don't know if that downtrend is going to continue or not here at this point. I would assume that markets can continue to just buy up, but I have no reason to believe that this particular location is any better or worse of a location to do that. So I can't really do anything with it. Hold on a second. And Treasury's actually buying up a little bit here. American exporters are selling soybeans to China even after Beijing ordered a pause in some purchases, says Bloomberg. And Trading Floor Audio noting that China and Pompeo are going at it. Let's turn on the auto read. I really thought that we had more news than just these bill auctions today. Well, there is an ISM number. Need to come back in here and look at the whole week. Let's see here. Today is Tuesday. Yeah, so nothing. Words total vehicle sales. Let's see here. Tomorrow, ADP non-farm employment change, PMIs, factory orders. And Friday we have the non-farms. Which, it's unclear if non-farms matter anymore. I'm going to bet that the VIX is significantly contracted from where it was. So I do not see a whole lot of reason to be taking trades. I'm sitting here thinking I want to do something, but I don't see a whole lot of reason to do something. If we do take a trade, it might have to be some mean reversion stuff. Restoration Hardware's annual letter to shareholders up 7.5 pre-markets. Patrick Rooney noting that the yen futures look set to fail. Yeah. So something's going on with the yen. Something's up here. I don't know what the. I'm not sure what the deal is. Mm-mm. Why would the yen futures coming down like that though be a risk off thing? It's really difficult to say. I mean the other currencies aren't doing it. The other currencies aren't doing it. Well, okay, so it could be that people are fearing more U.S. China trade tensions and are therefore fleeing the Japanese yen for the dollar because the dollar is coming up. that must be what Patrick Rooney thinks is happening. Uh, I don't know. Mm. Well, the E-mini is making good progress here on the up. I don't know if they're actually going to turn. I bet you that if they do turn, that they're going to play a couple of tricks first. Hmm. Rich is saying that he thinks it's a risk on thing, but who knows? The rally in S&P is a suckers rally? I don't know. It's kind of a weird move because it's happening on its own. Hmm. I just want to save this picture here. Oh man, I was just reading back on this thread. Oh man, so there was a little incident the other day, and I think that this particular individual thinks that this incident is something that they can uh, kind of try and use. and it really doesn't, because the person is because the person that they were arguing with was accusing them of something. Right. So, anyways, we'll see what happens, but this could turn out kind of funny in the end. Let's see here. The fact that it is moving up is reason on its own. I've said reason behind moves. But the fact that it happened. I don't know what's going to happen. All right. How are you doing, by the way, John? It's a quiet morning. You know what? It's kind of funny. Mm, because I would think that the number of viewers would stay. I mean, the number of viewers does stay very, very constant. But there are some days where it's just like it's a quiet day, and then we tend to not have as many YouTube viewers. And it's like there's a couple of you guys that know there's no real reason to trade today. I'm not gonna come in. But I didn't tell the rest of us. I mean, I don't really look at the stuff until I come in the morning. I come in this morning. It just doesn't look very good. Do you see the yen turning there now? Okay, there's actually a decent amount of volume going through at 3067. That's a little weird. Oh, God. That's a little weird that the volume is trading there. One of the things that always kind of gets me is like, okay, so like if somebody's trying to set up a position, you know, it's kind of hard if you really want to take a really big position, especially in an environment like this, right? You're gonna have to move it around a little bit and then sneakily accumulate. You're gonna have to buy a little bit and sell a little bit and buy a little bit and kind of trick the market so that you can accumulate without it being really obvious that there was a one player in particular that absorbed a lot of contracts there. But here you're seeing two players, or two groups of traders absorbing up against each other in the middle there. So people have taken opposite sides of this. Maybe somebody's distributing for something. They did take a pretty good sell there for a bit. I mean, that candle right there looks bearish, and the treasuries are moving up. Everyone that could get laid off, no one else got laid off. I'm already long. I'm just saying that fundamentals can oftentimes be delayed and are not forwards looking. Okay, so the yen pulled back. Treasuries kind of came up as that happened. It might not be anything serious. There's a new low, though. Mhm. Hmm. Well, this whole time I was kind of thinking, like, well, I mean, I have to be biased long, right? But the short term trend is down, and there's nothing to tell me that this particular spot right here is particularly great. And look at the way that the floor just completely falls out. I don't see anything. Yen swoons as coronavirus fears fade, says Forex Live. Hmm. That's what they think. Tokyo issues virus alert after 34 new cases reported. That's not true. Rich says price moves before it finds a reason. That's not always true. Yeah, it is a good point. Like we could retrace all of that, and there's no way for me to know what it's going to do. Are you talking about this one over here? So those balls are basically detecting iceberg orders. So what they're saying is that up here, so in this particular case, what it seems to indicate was that there was a large buyer. Yeah, it seems to suggest that there was a large buyer absorbing a lot of contracts at 3,067, and then they sold down through it. Cool. So, Sunday, I really don't think that the riots matter. Just my personal opinion. They could matter. It's I think that they are getting stuff for stocks. Yes. Hmm. You got a long entry, huh? Well, they're definitely doing a reversion there. I don't know. No, so just to reiterate what said in my opening, I really don't think that the riots matter. They could, they could matter. It's definitely a situation that we would keep an eye on. But what you're going to see a lot of, and I was talking about this with Futures Trader 71 and he yesterday on Twitter, and he agreed. You're going to get a lot of wishful thinking headlines. So, for instance, there was the headline was Donald Trump had to retreat to the bunker. Well, he has a Secret Service in this. If the Secret Service believe that they have reason to fear for his safety and tell him to go into the bunker, then he'll go into the bunker. And it's not the first time that they've ever told the president to go into the bunker, and it won't be the last. And it's not a useful headline. It doesn't tell us anything. Does that tell us whether there will be more buyers or more sellers in the market? Does that tell us anything about where money is going to flow to and from in the global market today? It doesn't. It doesn't tell us anything about that. It's just an interesting headline to kind of get people triggered and get people to click on things. Okay. So then the headline was that Donald Trump pulled a stunt where he cleared everybody out of Lafayette Park and walked over to the church that had a fire from protests and took a picture of himself with a Bible in front of it. Of course, everybody's going to be upset by that. Well, I mean, not of course everybody, but of course it's going to trigger leftists, right? Because he cleared out the park before the curfew was done, and it's a photo op for a photo op. Yeah, that's going to trigger them. I think on that story, the key thing you would take away from it is that he did it, right? You could call it abuse of power. I'm sure a lot of people would call it abuse of power, but like he did it, and he can do that, and he could do it again if he wanted to, right? That's the only thing they would take from that. But does it tell us whether money will come into the market or out of the market, or where it's going to come to and from, and how much it's going to be, and all that sort of stuff? Nope, it doesn't tell us any of that. Okay, so protesters are rioting. What does that tell us? Well, if I'm a company like Nike, their store got trashed, right? So if I'm Nike stock, that's going to be a cost, right? They're going to have to fix up that store. I don't know how big of an impact a store it has on the stock. You'd have to go and calculate it. You'd have to go and look at their balance sheet and how much money they're going through. But I'm going to guess that they probably did hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage, and we're talking about a company that does hundreds of millions of dollars business worldwide, right? And you're talking about a company that is just one small part of a larger index. So, should it make the S&P 500 move? No, it doesn't. It doesn't make the S&P 500 move. So here, for now, it doesn't move the stock market. Now, here's something that could happen that I think would be more likely to move markets. Okay, if Donald Trump said, "Kumo, you are not doing your job. You are not protecting the citizens of New York, and you are not protecting the property of citizens in New York. And so I am going to call in the National Guard or the military police to come in and restore order in New York." That would not necessarily move markets either, because it's a good thing if the rioting stops. But if Kumo then came in and said, "Nope, I'm not going to allow that, and I'm going to tell the National Guard to fire on the federal, federally directed troops in my state," that would move markets. Why? That's civil war right there. Okay, so is that going to happen? I think highly unlikely. I think if you're a Democrat governor and you do that sort of a thing, you are fucked. You are so fucked. That would be really, really highly unadvisable. Okay. But Trump can federalize the guard, taking that option away from Kumo. Well, he can try. Who knows who would come out on top in that? Who they would choose? It would be a battle, right? There would be all sorts of chaos. That's like a coup. I mean, at that point, the president would go in and depose the governor, right? That would be a problem. That would be a problem. Okay. That would maybe move markets. Okay. But otherwise, and I don't think that that's likely to happen. And so otherwise, I say that the riots probably aren't particularly relevant to the market. I think Jim Cramer the other day said that the markets don't have a conscience. I wouldn't put it. I don't think that that's the right way to approach it. I don't think that he's right. Actually, markets can very much so will invest based on their conscious, and markets will very much move on what they want to have happen and not what is actually likely to have happen. Often, there's edge cases like that, right? But no, I think it's really is that none of what's happening really affect the flows into the market, and especially when the flow is up. If we didn't have all of the monetary support and the strong uptrend and the strong flow of money into the stock market already, if we were kind of going down, then this kind of stuff, it would depress sentiment, and maybe it could move markets down, and the Twitter robots would pick up on that and maybe trade it down. But yeah, well, their markets are just markets, right? They're not really a person. It can be useful sometimes to think of them as a person, but really it's just the price action that tells us about what people are doing with their money. Why would people move their money off of this? Makes no sense. So with those two tweets I was showing, so Forex Live said that the yen was swooning as coronavirus fears fade. I don't know if that was like they're recovering or what, but then right immediately after that, First Squawk was saying that Tokyo issues a virus alert after 34 new cases were reported. So they're expecting another outbreak in Japan, essentially. We're just pointing out, though, that ironically the Nikkei is the strongest index right now. And then after that happened, we had that whole thing where there was an iceberg there, and then they pushed through the iceberg, and there was a pretty good move down. Again, I don't know of anything that gives me a strong opinion on whether there's going to be more money coming into or out of the stock market today. And it's just kind of like, for all I know, a significant pullback after a really strong bull run. I'm fading these dipshit Robinhood peeps, such idiots. So you are going short because you should go and argue with Rich in the equity indexes channel, because he thinks that you should just stay long. And he's pretty convinced that it's just going to continue going up forever. You should don't call them Robinhood dipshit peeps. They're featherheads. That's the correct insult for Robinhood users. It's featherheads. HBO earned a reputation for adult dramas filled with sex and violence, like The Sopranos and Game of Thrones, but the shows on its new streaming service are now aimed at children. That's interesting. Well, there's a lot of, I don't know about that one, dude. I mean, there's a lot of stocks that the Robinhood users have been moving into, and those are the best performers. What has happened is that the Robinhood users, they're putting so much money into the market, and the market is basically just saying, okay, well, if that's the source of most of the flow, then we're just going to front run that. So they just chase. They're basically, the smart money is chasing. It's really quite, it's kind of flipping it on its head. But you may be right. I think at some point, they kind of, the smart money steps back or takes their money out, and the Robinhood users are just left holding the bag because they only got so much money, right? Especially if the unemployment ends, which I think is extremely likely. The unemployment benefits are going to end. It is right now. I would be really cautious about making any assumptions about the way things are based on what the market is doing today, because this market is not really normal. We're seeing a historically unprecedented action here with large amounts uh, 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 of retail money coming into the market. You know, that is, I'm not sure that I can really predict how that's going to turn out in the end. It is generally better to go long, sure, generally. But that's why the financial crises end up being so painful, because all of the traders, all they know how to do is go long. And then the market comes down and they're effed, you know? Yeah. But again, they're up. Those are all up. So what? You front run them all and you bought and now you're selling it? Yeah. But, I don't normally talk about individual stocks, but I'll take this one on. I don't, kind of to what Gary Rich is saying. I don't recommend being in the stock that everybody is talking about. Right? Like if I get into a trade, hmm, well then you've lost money. Um, so if I take a long term play, I buy some company nobody's ever heard about, and then all of a sudden it's the most hotly traded stock on the exchange. I'm selling. You don't you basically, you got the trade, right? You picked it up. The crowd has come in after you. You use the crowd to get out. That's the whole idea. U.S. trading floor audio. U.S. curfew is not enough to keep the peace with protests and arrests coast to coast, says NBC. That's true, because that you can't just say, oh, we're going to have a curfew and then just sit there and not enforce it, which is what the Democrat cities were doing. Sorry, my mouth is. I guess I'm not drinking enough water. I must not be drinking enough water. That'll J. Trump retweeting John James. This is about you, the people of Michigan. This is the greatest country in the world because of people like you, not politics. Our future depends on experienced leadership that will put the needs of real people ahead of partisanship. And there's a video. What's the video? Apparently, John James must be a politician running for office in Michigan. And he was in the military. Yeah, okay. So not relevant. And hi, Stick Mall. I forgot to say hi there. Mm-hmm. Another little slip there. I don't know though. Look at the cumulative delta. It's slipping down. It's not really like crazy volume on it happening. 60 is where we were the other day. That might be a spot to see some support. CNBC op-ed the chart show global stocks could retest their March lows later this year. Yeah, that's what everybody keeps saying. I will admit this scenario is attractive to me. I did not buy stocks with my money because I still have money waiting to buy stocks, but I'm only going to buy if I'm getting a good deal. Yeah. Well, here's my take, Gary. I can go and I can try and tell them, hey, this particular thing, it's not a good idea. But they're never going to listen to you and they're never going to appreciate it. I could come in and I could take somebody, say, here's your strategy, and here is proof that your strategy does not work and cannot work. Or do you think that they're going to be grateful? I thought maybe they would, but no, it pisses them off like big time. It pisses them off big time. So what am I supposed to do? If I feel like at that point that all I can do is just trade in the most effective way that I know how, and not care about what anybody else is doing. Yeah. I just and I don't like being the crowd, man. I really don't. It really bothers me. If I'm early, then cool. If I'm early and there's a reason to believe that it's going to continue to go, then cool. But I don't like following the crowd. This whole idea of following the crowd now, like most strategies, technical analysis is in following the crowd. That's why I think that a lot of it doesn't work. I was thinking about this the other day. That's kind of why maybe I'm pivoting over to that. But we've been watching the protests on the local news. They've been showing live feeds of it. So here in Utah, they've been smart, I think. Um, there was quite a bit of rioting and violence and so forth on Saturday. The police showed a very strong presence. Mm. I wouldn't fade the crowd. I just don't want to be with the crowd. Anyways, so there was a strong police presence on Saturday, and then they instituted a curfew over the weekend, and then they were allowed to protest again on Monday. So there was a protest on Monday. There's a curfew at 8 o'clock. They did their rally from 6 to 8 o'clock. The rally leaders then said, we're going to go. It was like some socialist group. They said, we're going to go. You should go home too. So they left. The majority of the people at the rally left at that time. And then the rest of the protesters were basically without a leader and decided that they were just going to start walking around the city. So you have this crowd aimlessly wandering around the city. It's kind of a funny thing because the police kind of want to catch you in small groups that they can kind of handle, and then isolate that group and take care of that group. So what the protesters ended up doing actually helped the police police them, because the protesters basically were scattered all around downtown at that point. Well, they're no idea where they're going. They're just like following each other. It is a mindless crowd. It was literally a mindless crowd. And there's this funny thing with it. So with this Black Lives Matter movement, one of the ideas or principles that they follow, which I think is just the most ridiculous thing. But the whole thing is that it's black. It's the black people's movement, and they're in charge and they're the leaders, no matter what, right? So if you go to the protesters and you ask them a question, they won't talk to the media. Only black people are allowed to talk to the media. Okay, like I get it. Maybe it's cool, but then that also means only the black people are the leaders. So if you have a mindless group of protesters, the leader has to be a black person. So basically, you get the one black guy that's there in that group gets a megaphone and becomes the leader. This is dumb. Okay, like you don't want to follow somebody because of their skin color alone. I mean, obviously, you do want to have leaders in that are black, but you want to have leaders in that are black that know what they're doing. You know, have experience, can make good decisions, are articulate, can look good for the media, and all of this sort of a thing, right? So, anyways, they eventually, the protesters, a good group of about 100 or so people, get trapped by the police. And there's one black kid, and he looked like he was maybe 17 years old. No shirt, low riding jeans. He was not a political. The point of that is he was not some political operative that was experienced in doing this stuff. He just had the megaphone and knew the chants. And the police had them cornered, and the protesters were refusing to go home. And then eventually the leader said, like, do you guys want to be arrested tonight? And then he said, no, let's go home. We're going to go home. And so then they negotiated with the police and they went home. It was, so to his credit, it seemed like this kid had no leadership experience, but maybe he should, because he did the right thing. He did the right thing, and probably what he did last night went a really long way towards helping that movement in this city. They very much policed themselves. There wasn't any violence, and there was tension, but they worked it out with the police, and they went home. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. But, guys, bad things can happen. Could have been worse, right? If that kid didn't stand up, if it was somebody not so smart, made the wrong decision, could have done real damage, couldn't it? Why, I don't think the Republicans are really welcome at these rallies, but I have no interest in going to one because I'm not interested in going and following a crowd around. Don't want to be part of the crowd. I have my own ideas. I don't have the ideas of the person that happens to have the megaphone. Who's this guy? I don't know what he thinks and believes. Huh? No, no, thank you. I will do my own thing, and I will get together with other people when we agree on specific issues. You know what I mean? This is just like this with trading. Like, why would your trading strategy be? I'm gonna sit here and then wait for a large crowd to form, and then just follow that large crowd. That's essentially what we're doing with a lot of technical analysis strategies, and I don't think that that's a reason to do it. I also don't think that if you see the crowd, that you should go in and say, "Oh, I'm going to do the opposite thing," right? Like I see a crowd, I think it would be dumb to come out and say, "Oh, well, black people shouldn't have any rights." And no, 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 that's awful, awful. No, I think that the thing that they're protesting for is really, really good. There are some cases of police overstep. There are some things that we could probably do to alleviate some of those issues. And the officers involved in that particular case should face some consequences. Now, what those consequences are, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, and that should be up to the people that are in charge of law stuff, right? But so you don't want to go against the crowd. What do? You look at this situation, you look at what's going on, and you make your own decisions based on what you believe is correct and effective. And I think that's the way to trade. I think that you just come, the crowd is the crowd, and you want to get ahead of the crowd. Okay. But when you take your initial position, you can't base it off of any of that. You just have to base it off of, here's the thing that is going to affect the flows, and trade that thing. So that's my diatribe today. I hope you enjoyed it. Must have been right. Yeah, I mean, if I have a really strong reason to think that we're going down and the crowd disagrees with me, I'm still going to take it probably. But you always have to you work your positioning in there, right? If there's a really strong trend up, you know, it's really hard to sell that. There's got to be a reason that, from a technical perspective, that I'm going to see a pivot there that's in line with my larger theory, right? Especially in some of those news-based events, man, it gets really messy and screwed up. This is where you get these moves where people, get sucked into the liquidity vacuums, and the crowd has no clue what they're doing, and you just see all sorts of freak moves. It's like better to get the initial move first and then just be done and let the rest of the people screw around with it. Hmm. Hmm. Oh yeah, sure. What do you mean by that? I think you could say that you can't get a technical analysis way of finding. I don't think that you can form an effective indicator that is really effective at identifying tops and bottoms. Because if you did, and everybody started doing it, then that would not end up being the top or bottom anymore. Right? People would either see it coming and fade it before that happens, or traders would take advantage of everybody getting into it and stopping you out. Yeah. Mhm. Here's the interesting thing about all of those ones, though, because these are things that people consider to be technical analysis because it's on a chart, but it's not. Oh, that's right. Hold on a second. My neighbor's here at the door. Okay, so to what I was saying, I think that there has a logical fallacy has developed among the retail trading crowd that associates charts with technical analysis. They think that if you have a chart, well, and they don't even think that price is technical. This is the other one that I think is weird is they think, okay, if you look at price and you see price action, that's not technical analysis. It is. It is. Um, Conversely, they think, let me breathe for a second because that was up. And okay, I could take almost any piece of information and put it on a chart in some form, or quantify it in some form. Okay, does that make it technical analysis? I think that we misunderstand what technical analysis is. I think that to me, technical analysis is trying to predict what a asset is going to do based purely on market generated information. When I say market generated information, I mean stuff generated at the exchange, price, volume, level 2. Okay? That is market generated information. If CNBC does a poll, that is displayed on a chart, but it is not market generated. It wasn't generated at the exchange, it was generated from CNBC. It's outside information, it's fundamental data. So I think that the key factor is the source of your information and not whether or not you can display it on a chart. Makes sense? So what you're talking about, Gary, there is, in my opinion, fundamental. Uh, that's the definition that they're going to give you on Wikipedia. I think that you have to go back to the original term and how it came about and everything. But that's still all technical analysis. Everything that you talked about there is information that is generated by the market. You're just using multiple forms of technical analysis. Or it doesn't work because millions of people are looking at the same thing as others. How does that work? Right? If there was a technical analysis method that was so effective, Sure. Okay. So again, the whole point behind technical analysis, in my opinion, was to be able to trade without the fundamental data, right? The whole theory, the whole theory here is I don't know about X, Y, and Z. Okay. I'll let you elaborate on that a little bit. The whole idea behind technical analysis is I don't know X, Y, and Z. Insiders will know this about a stock. I don't know this about the stock. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch those insiders doing that thing through technical analysis. And then I can basically read what they're doing off of the charts and then make my own decision based on what I see other participants in the market doing, right? Technical analysis is, in effect, crowd following. Straight up. Well, maybe not following, but if you're fading the crowd or whatever, you're basing your decisions off of the decisions of other people. No matter what. Because it's market generated information. Right? And I say that is really the key defining characteristic of it. For the purposes of you deciding how to trade, that's the thing that matters. Is how was the data generated? Was it generated from the market actions of other people? Or was it generated from the fundamentals? Was it generated from what the company is doing? Is it generated from what the people's sentiment and opinions are? Right? That's fundamental stuff. Excuse me, I don't have burps. I've been eating what it was that I ate for breakfast this morning. It was like a French toast casserole. It's probably no good. Must have too much sugar in it. You get what I'm saying? The thing that should really matter to you is whether or not is where the data came from. If it was market generated data, then there's limitations with that. Because honestly, think about it. Is there like some branch of technical analysis that has a considerably higher number of profitable traders? Is that a thing? If that was a thing, wouldn't everybody pick up on that and all start using it? Was seeing these people like yeah, you ever seen that South Park episode where they're all in hell, you know? They're all talking about, oh, I'm not supposed to be here because I was a practicing Protestant or whatever. I think it's the same thing in the trading world, right? Except for that, instead of hell, it's unprofitable, unprofitable traders, and have all these people that are like, hey, wait a second, I'm not supposed to be here. I was trading the Wyckoff method. Yeah, no, what about me? I was trading order flow. You were wrong. Right. And then at that point, it's like, well, which is it? Which is it? And I think because in that South Park joke, they say, Mormons. Yes, the Mormons, because it's like this is the one that everybody hates. Honestly, like as a Mormon, that's how I feel. I feel that we are the first or second most despised church. I don't consider Scientology a church, so. But then there's the Jehovah Witnesses. They're right up there too. Okay. But that's where Mormonism is placed in the minds of most people. Okay. And what is the one method? What is the one thing that is, I don't want to say despised, but at the very least ignored by the majority of retail traders? Fundamentals. It's fundamentals, guys. Everybody wants to avoid trading on the fundamentals. They want to be able to trade based purely off of market generated information. That's the whole shtick. Is they want to be able to look at data provided to them by CQG and make all of their decisions from that. And I say that's why we have a problem. I say that you have to understand what the market is, how it works, and then look at the news and the things that are driving the market that day and make your decisions from that. That's my opinion. But we're just trying to make that case. Trying to make that case and prove can you really be? Is there a way to be consistently successful with a form of technical analysis, and everybody could pick on that, and they could all be successful? And they say no. There's a limitation with that. But can you be good at knowing how news is going to affect the markets? Yeah, you can. And that's not something you can program. Well, it's not something that a retail trader can really compete in programming with, at least. But a lot of those algorithms out there are using fundamental data. That's kind of why we can't really compete with them on that. You get what I mean? Well, I would try and make that case, but in the meantime, I think that the first thing is to lay the groundwork. And I think that the way that we should lay the groundwork is we should look at the source of the information that we're trading on. Well, on the initial move, they sold it about 2,500 contracts. So that's about average what they've been doing lately. That's about what they've been doing lately. Doesn't necessarily mean that today is going to be a sell day. But there does appear to be some people out there that want to sell this. Well, there's two things. The one is there's going to be a group of people that think, oh, the world's on fire, we should sell. I would hope that most of those people would have learned their lesson yesterday, but they're there. There's probably also a group of people say that, oh, well, we gapped up, we need to close the gap. That's probably a lot of this right here. But 3060 was about where we were, was kind of like the target that I saw yesterday. So to see us opening there today, I can't really say which target we're going to go for. So I kind of wait. I'm not sure that I'm going to take any trades today, to be honest. I still see the treasuries continuing to move up, though. And one of the issues also that I have is like, they say? Don't short a dull market, right? So, okay, so you get it. I think you get it. But here's how I would say it, Stickball. You should use every source of information you can to make your decisions. And that means that you should not trade purely off of fundamental data. And you should not trade purely off of technical analysis data. You should trade off of a combination of every piece of data that you have. Okay, here's the VIX range targets. 3033 on the downside. 3006, and then on the upside, 86. Mm-hmm. Sure. And the more complex that you are able to make your analysis, the better off you individually are going to be in the long run, right? The more edge you can have, the more nuanced your analysis can be. Cool. Edge Clear is going to be hosting a panel on they're making the small exchange available. So it is true. I think I would like to move over to Edge. I bet you that other brokers are going to start making it available, but I think I would like to move over to Edge Clear and be able to trade on the. Because if I could take trades on the dollar index from time to time, or oil or gold from time to time, based on when there's opportunity, when I think there's opportunities, and I can switch products, that would be probably a more effective way of trading, right? Those birds are not being good. They're being loud. Well, right. One of the things that was Gary Rich was, or sorry, not Gary Norden. There's too many Garys. Um, there's only two Garys, but there's Gary Rich and then there's Rich, and then there's Gary Norden. Okay. One of the things that Gary Norden said was that you just have to go in and see, are you good at trading? Are you a good trader? And I think what he was what he was saying was, do you actually have the ability to look at the market and see what's going on and formulate good trades based off of that, rather than trying to robotically trade a certain signal? Because really, what we talk about from technical analysis, I think one of the things was we had this idea, like, sure. So I think there's this other thing, which was like, okay, I'm doing technical analysis like I'm reading order flow. I don't know how to make a robot do that. Some of the patterns that I see in order flow, I don't know how to make a robot do that. But um, I think I've changed my mind on that. I think that somebody else out there does know how to do that. And not only that, but that they're able to backtest the market and determine which strategies are the most successful and run way more back tests than I will ever be able to do. And so I just do not believe that you can be competitive at that game. The pure technical analysis. Bitcoin will save us. A protester had a picture of the protest. Okay, well they had a pretty good drop there, and now we're back into the 50 level, 30-50 level. Oh, I missed a Donald Trump tweet. Yesterday was a bad day for the Kumo brothers. New York was lost to the looters, thugs, radical left, and all other forms of lowlife and scum. The governor refuses to accept my offer of dominating National Guard. New York City was ripped to pieces. Likewise, Fredo's ratings are down 50%. That was about 4 minutes ago. Maybe there is a little bit of selling. I don't know if the market is reacting to that, but you could make the case. The issue is that if the markets are reacting to it, that is a headline that could be very short lived. My chair is a little too low and it's causing my arm to hit the desk at a weird angle. I think that'll move this over a little bit. I think that'll fix it. Now I gotta get myself in close, nice and close. Okay. That's good. That's good. Okay, so a lot of volume going through at 56. Gonna watch. We're gonna start watching our footprint chart here. At least the offers are shot run down in multiple incidents. Okay, so to Kanan's question. So here's the first thing. I really don't think that you want to go in and say, oh, okay, here is a particular DOM signal that I'm looking for. There's an iceberg. Cool. Okay. That means I should sell. Like a one-dimensional analysis, I've tried that and I've fallen into that trap. And the long and short of it is that one, the edge in that is very, very small. Like you might be able to find that the iceberg holds 55% of the time. Okay. So yeah, you can win 55% of the time, but then the drawdowns are going to be very nasty because you're going to run into markets where they go through it every time and very consistently. And then it will randomly change and there's like no rhyme or reason to it. It seems like there's no rhyme or reason to it. So what you really want to do is you want to have an analysis like this. I think that there is going to be heavy corporate bond issuance today that's going to push the treasuries down. And as I see that selling, I'm probably going to see people on the other side iceberg absorbing at the bottom. And that's where I want to try and get long, because once those people hedging against the corporate bond issuance are gone, the treasuries are going to move back up because that's just temporary supply that's going to disappear soon, right? That is a more nuanced trade. And so that's the sort of a thing that you want to look for. Okay. So with that said, you can really kind of get a larger category of things. And John Grady's book does a really good job of explaining what they are and kind of what matters. But the thing that you want to look for is there are going to be prices that are very difficult for them to clear, and there are going to be prices that are very easy for them to clear, right? So you're going to see a situation where all it takes is 1,000 contracts for them to tick it up. Barely anything ticks back into it, and then it will tick up again. And when you're getting a trend, it's going to do that over and over and over and over again. And you can very clearly see where people are positioning and not positioning. Okay. Now the problem is that you might see that you don't know when it's going to stop. So that's why I say you need to have a more nuanced analysis of that, right? You need to know, here's the reason why they're probably going to move up today. Okay, I'm in. I caught their trend. What are some value areas that I want them to visit? Where's my target? I should have an idea of where it's going to go. And then when it gets there, do I see the order flow signals that suggests that people are getting out? Which would be things like iceberging there, it ticking back the other way really solidly. It's starting to go back and forth and ranging there a lot. A price where they aren't willing to hold a bid or an offer for very long. You know, those are the sorts of things. So that's how I approach it. Well, I would argue with you. It depends on your definition of effective or efficient, right? In my opinion, it is the most effective and the most efficient method that we have. It's also the most fair method that we have, and that's the most important thing. But it is more effective and efficient than any other known method of evaluating things. But when we think of effective and efficient, we think like, oh, they should know what the price is instantly. They should always be right. And the reality of the situation is that it's not. Markets can be completely wrong for months at a time. They can be, you know, there's always inefficiencies. Okay, I think that ISM number just came through here. 19 spot 5 versus a previous of 4 spot 3. I am seeing uh, some significant volume trade through in here. Yeah, you're right. They have been stuck around this 138.28 half area for a long time, haven't they? Like we've made it back up to the 139. It's a little interesting that the treasuries have been moving up today, but they sold the equities and they're, I'd say, roughly correlated. But based on the range, you're getting to a spot where, yeah, maybe you should maybe it's time for it to go to revert back. I don't know. The level 2 is a little bit skewed. The 5-year looks like they really, really want to buy it, but the 10 and the 30 aren't as anxious about it. Okay. So I'm seeing some signs of distribution here. I'm going to try taking one. Oh, wait. Crap. Hmm. So they were fighting the sellers there and they didn't get very far with it, did they? I did not intend to take that with 2 contracts. So I think I'm just going to bail here. What the heck? Oh, yeah. I think that when you're reading order flow, it's a lot easier to trade to see what's going on in the treasuries, but the E-mini has a lot of opportunity and is fertile ground, and it's still relatively thick. So yeah, they do. You pay a little bit more. You pay a lot bit more in commissions. you can really be effective in treasuries. It's just you have to. It's a lot harder to get that market knowledge about treasuries. The bond market. The bond market is so big, and there's so much that goes on in the bond market that you can learn about that, and the public doesn't really have a whole lot of interest in it. So it's very difficult to find good sources of information and learn that stuff. Oh, cool. I didn't plan it like that, but dividend irrelevance theory? I don't understand what you're talking about now, Stick. Should try writing it out a little bit more elaborately. People still laugh at Robinhood traders, but most wish they had DKNG as their top one weekly long, says the market year. Hmm. Oh, I got you. What you saying? You talking about the commissions on equities? Is what I assume you were talking about on the ES. Okay, I'm definitely. This is definitely the area that I want to try it. Hmm. Okay, the treasuries took a tick down there, so they seem to see it. Actually, yeah, that's gonna be a tough. That's gonna be a tough ask. Hold up. I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't know if that's. Well, did you see that thing where the Congressional Budget Office was saying that the market's not. They're not. I'm not too familiar with it. I'm gonna have to go and learn more. The Congressional Budget Office was saying that we won't make a full recovery until 2030. That it's going to be another 10 years until the market is really truly back to where it was. Hmm. I think that I don't know. The Congressional Budget Office has some analysis that I'm not so sure you really wanna. Anyways, I'm not too familiar with the dividend irrelevant theory. I always have looked to try and have at least one stock that has a dividend, because stock dividends is a good source of fixed income compared to bonds, because you kind of get a little bit of best of both worlds, right? Yeah, I think so. 10 years is, yeah. It may be certain parts of the economy will be, yeah. Again, at some point they're gonna have to do a reverse split, right? Yeah. Yep. And sometimes the dividends are better than what you'd get with bonds, and you can still benefit from the price of the stock going up. There's definitely reasons to own dividend paying stocks. Should a dividend paying stock be worth more? That that doesn't quite, not so sure. I think that there might be a lot, it might, if they do tend to be worth more, I think that there might be more to it than that. Like, I don't know, makes a company more likely to be a profitable company if they're doing a good dividend, and that's why people prefer it. I don't know. There could be any number of reasons for the premium, and we would never be able to prove what it is. So I guess that must be why it's called a theory, huh? Well, that's an interesting one though. That's not one that I've really seen argued out before, so I'll have to go and learn more about that in the future. Yeah. I mean, I am in favor of companies returning money to shareholders, and that they tax dividends and they don't tax in the same way share buybacks. I get why they're doing it all. I'm not opposed to share buybacks, although you really shouldn't be going into debt to do it. Maybe maybe there should be a rule. Well, how would you make a rule like that? Because money is fungible. Maybe you could put restrictions on what you can do for dividends and stock buybacks based on what your debt is. For instance, you can't do a dividend if your debt has increased or something like that. Probably you can't really make a fair rule that does that, can you? I don't know. Well, I guess if a company is um, abuses it, I mean, this is the place where it gets messed up, right? If a company abuses it, then eventually they should pay for it when their company goes kaput, right? Worth. Hmm. That far away? Yeah. Well, so I saw an argument the other day. This is gonna get you guys animated, but I'm starting to get into this argument. But um, if the Federal Reserve is coming in and buying ETFs, and in Japan they're buying like all ETFs, right? At what point are we no longer a free market economy and we're a centrally managed one? At what point? Because honestly, right now, what is influencing people's investing decisions? It seems to me like that people are just buying based off of what the Federal Reserve is doing. So, what would be different if we were a centrally managed economy right now? I'm not sure I have a good argument for what would be different. I think in the future there would definitely be things that would be different from what a centrally managed free market economy is, but for the moment it seems like that we're in a centrally managed economy. And I'm a little concerned because I think that at the moment they're just kind of doing what they feel is necessary to prevent a depression, and we don't want to have a depression, okay? But now the precedent is set. So if 10 years from now, somebody else can come in and just completely take things over and really truly make it a formal, centrally managed economy. And there's not a really whole lot anybody can do about it because the precedent's already set. Mm, I think you're talking about the dividend thing still. I think I was just saying you can't prove that. With the dividend thing, it's really hard to conclusively prove why something is being valued higher or not. It might be really obvious to us all intuitively, but it still has to be a theory because and not a law, because how do you prove cause and effect in a market? It's almost impossible. Japanification. Yeah. Well, they can't. They would need an act of Congress, but Congress wouldn't give it to them. I think they would if the situation really called for it. They would do whatever the Federal Reserve told them to. Like seriously, you think they're going to come? You think Jerome Powell is going to come in and say, in order for us to prevent a depression, you guys need to give us the authorization to buy and directly own stocks? And you think that they're going to say no? I don't think they would. If he was coming out and he was making that public case, Congress would do what they're told. At least the current Congress would. Nancy would. Mm. Anyways, I'm concerned about it. Mm, there is a limit, though, right? I don't know what it is, but they can't. I don't think that they can directly buy companies legally right now. Like it's like specifically prohibited. Okay, so we're coming back to the open. It's still kind of slow and go, but that's because they have a high to break, and there is going to be resistance on it, of course. Um, so I should be doing some management here. It's getting close. They're not quite there yet. Trudeau says Russia not welcome in G7. Sure. Find it interesting that he's so insistent on him coming in, but I don't particularly care. It seems like a headline for liberals because they think that he's a Russian stooge. I'm sure he has a reason, but who cares what it is? Mm-mm. Hmm. I don't think they're gonna stop you. I'm not sure why they're being tepid about it. I guess nobody is willing to just punch it. I guess the situation wouldn't really call for punching it. I can hear my son upstairs is talking. He's talking to mom. He is talkative. He just makes a lot of noise. Okay. The treasuries did come down a tick, but now they have a relatively strong bid there, and there's some absorption against it. Sure, it's true. That's a centrally managed economy. Because a free market economy, those should blow up. So this kind of goes back to this other problem, right? That hyper low interest rates are actually force people to save more and are deflationary in nature. I think it's an extremely compelling argument, and the data definitely backs them up. And I'm surprised now at this point that the central bankers aren't talking about this more. Are they in denial, or is acknowledging this counter to their own incentives? It's a little puzzling because it seems from the evidence that I've seen, it just looks like a really serious theory. And if that's the case, then you're on a really tough path because you've got to get interest rates above 4%. And mm, well, that's true. Well, okay, whatever. S- So I'm gonna let you finish that, but keep going about this other thing. Um, so the thing is if we've got to get interest rates back above 4% to defeat inflation or deflation, how are you going to do that? Is there going to be a point at which we're just going to have to suck it down, right? You would want to have some sort of uh, get back to a strong economy. But basically, what they're saying is that the market should have increased interest rates faster, right? Abel Teckle says the same question that somebody did earlier. Are you trolling me? Anyways, the E-mini is an okay instrument to trade. I mean, really, where you should start is you should start in the area where you have the most market knowledge. You know, if you worked for a formal oil company, then maybe you should do oil. But for most people, it's going to be easier to figure that sort of stuff out with the equities, with the equity indexes. So yes, S&P 500 is just a fine place to start if that's where you'd like. I really like the treasuries. I think that that's a good place to learn the order flow. But it's really difficult to learn everything that you need to know about the fixed income market. Fixed income is complicated. This is I'm trying to learn more about it, but man, it's hard. I'm kind of starting to think that I would not be able to really know everything that I want to know to be able to trade treasuries the way that I want to without working in the fixed income space for a bank. And when I did that, when I worked for the bank, I worked in equities. Just in stock stick higher as Wall Street looks beyond police brutality protests. I don't know if the market is responding to that or not. I think that a lot of it might just be technical. I don't know. Like there was a pretty good move up overnight. They got to pull back. I don't know. There was the when Donald Trump was tweeting about that. There was some significant downtrend at that time, but then we immediately recovered and pushed higher. Oh, of course not. There's no way. There's no way that they would impose such a shock on the market. 5% jump in interest rates would just be a killer, especially now when nobody's expecting it. But yeah, on a recovery, if the Federal Reserve increased interest rates more than was justified for a usual recovery, and yes, it would cap the growth in the S&P 500, but it would be necessary. And I think in my opinion is that they should have done that earlier. That Yellen was a little too dovish. There was one or two places where she could have raised, and Powell he could have raised in a couple of places, and then towards the end they ended up having one more raise more than they should have. Hmm. All right. Well, I guess we're doing this. This might be just a temporary reprieve and they're coming back through, but I just didn't like what I saw there. Like this area is acting as way too much resistance, and there's just not enough interest in busting it yet. They're gonna have to come back a bit, and I don't know how far back they're gonna come. So I think that for me and my target, that the risk is too high. We'll see how far do we come back. We were right here. What do you mean at 5% we can inflate it away? You really think that if we got interest rates to 5% that we would get real inflation? New York curfew moved up to 8 p.m. That's a good idea. 11 o'clock I thought was way too late. It's like, what's the point of that? I know people out east stay up late, but okay. Well, they're holding this spot okay, but it's still choppy and slow, so I'm feeling really wishy-washy because I don't know if my heavy aversion to the risk here is really justified or not. I think it's just because I still don't see anything that makes me really confident that the market needs to move, you know? I saw something that in this environment I would expect to see that would cause at least a pullback, if not an outright bull day in the end, but there was a little bit too much absorption up there. It was kind of like a contrary signal, so I got out. Central banks are dialing down the negativity, says Forex Live. What's going on in the Utah governor race? You guys probably don't care. 3 of the 4 Republican candidates for Utah governor criticized the state's response to the coronavirus as overboard on Monday and accused Gary Herbert of politicizing the public health crisis. And who was the one that didn't? Cox? Probably. Government that tells you what businesses are essential or not, a phone that if it crosses state lines goes off like an Amber Alert asking who you are, where you're going, and what your health status is, communist style snitch hotlines that have been asked citizens to engage in. This is born by fear. We never make good decisions out of fear. I agree with him that I really don't think that the government should be able to tell us which businesses are essential or not in a coronavirus epidemic. Okay. Hmm. There still appears to be some reluctance up here at the top. The treasuries are coming. Did fall there though. So treasuries seem to think that they're going to go. The dollar is falling again. Hmm. Ah, interesting. Man, dog next door is really triggered by something at the moment. Don't know if you can hear that in the background. Probably not. Probably it'd have to be turned up really, really loud for you to hear that. But he's like super pissed. Okay, so it's this kind of the same line here. Some resistance. Hmm. Buyer's still reluctant right there at the open price. You can see how much is going through there. It's not an insignificant amount. In fact, it's more than the stuff that we saw at 56. Okay. Ah. Okay, touch of the high. There you go. I think some of that was trend following. Hmm. Hmm. A little bit of fighting there. That's such a strong move too. What's going on here? He was thinking around with an offer. Looks like they're gonna push through him anyways. Yeah. Might have been just profit taking. You see him again right there at 30, 60 half. Oh, 30, 65 and 3/4. I think that somebody wants out. And still. And then he shows up and they sell. Will they do it this time? Okay. No. Don't seem to be seeing him anymore. You can kind of see the people stacking and pulling up in here. A lot added at 66. Okay, there's some new highs again. Pretty tepid that time. Treasury's still kind of ticking down a bit. Okay. It's about time for my water break, I think. No. Now they seem to be trying to push for it. I mean, like, that's a poor high. I'll read it later. Throw crap at crap. I don't know, man. It really does seem like that the only way for the government to get out of this is to allow is some pain. There's no way out of it without pain. Maybe you can do it without getting a depression, but it's scary, right? To me, it's scary. Okay, now they're doing stuff with bids. They're squeezing. I'm not seeing stops per se, but definitely a squeeze going on here. Huh. Okay. Huh. There's probably more stops above that. Yeah. See this stuff right here? You seem hyper nervous though. Yeah, let's take it. I want to see better continuation than that, but I'm getting feeling a little woozy about it. Let's see if they make it to that 70. I'll just put like a little no here. Oh, really? I mean, I saw the thing that you could detect it with sewage, and it was actually an effective way of detecting it that detected it for us faster than. There you go. Okay, so that other spot that I was seeing is okay. There's a little bit of a bounce up here now at 69.50. I see a lot of people below beyond that, like 72, no problem. Probably 72 should be no problem, and then beyond that, probably 75 should be no problem. So I could definitely hold it, but I got 50. It really sucks that that one happened. I'm glad that I like bailed when I did because it did go lower, but um, it was a little earlier, and if I had just taken it with one contract, maybe I could have held it. It's funny. Wastewater testing gains traction. Yeah, no, maybe I read this story. I saw that the wastewater was gaining traction. It seems like it's a really effective idea. You test the wastewater for pathogens, and it would give you an early warning to when your hospital's about to get flooded. Of course, it means that people already have it, but it's earlier than the methods that we have now. What's bad about that? Now, if it's expensive, that's maybe another thing. Got to get out. What was the upside target? Well, lately I've been doing it at uh, what is that? 10. I've been trying to get 10. I think in some of these cases I could do more than that, but okay. Water. Okay, well, there was a pullback there. See, here's my problem is that um my strategy right now is basically know where it's going and then get a good position, and get to in you know where it's going to go, and then just find yourself a good position to get in. Um, the problem is that I'll get in and it tends to work out, but there's all sorts of nonsense that happens in between, and sometimes you get a drawdown on that trade that is risky, and you don't want to risk it. And I'm don't know enough. I need to figure out a way to tell like how deep the pullback is likely to be, and uh, you know, how to determine when it's worth taking that pullback and not or not. The intermediary pullbacks are too random for me to really account for. It was like with that first one, I could have stayed in there and I would have made 3 ticks more or so. 25. Actually, it would have been 5 ticks more. So there's 5 ticks more in that. Ours actually could have gotten $10 more if I really wanted to, or if I had been like hyper efficient. But it made me nervous that they were doing that at the open price, that the open price was showing such resistance. So, now on the split side, where they ended up testing to yesterday's close, basically, um, that looks predictable to me after the fact. I keep saying I'm going to do it and I don't do it, but I need to go back and watch Future Trader 71's video and see. Does he say, okay, I think they're going to come and test yesterday's close and here's why, and see if he has some sort of an edge that tells us why they do that. Or if it was just random. Maybe it was just random. Oh, to that earlier question about when you book profits, like I'm doing 10, but that's mostly to do with where the fix is right now. Well, so we have a way of adjusting it as the market volatility contracts. Hmm. Mm. Donald Trump says we are making faster than expected progress in developing vaccines about MERS, and there is good news on the way. Rand Squawk says, "Hey guys, you might be trying to divert our attention." Trading floor audio. Don't be fool. Stocks and bonds are telling the same story, says Forbes. Pundits are saying that treasury yields being low is telling a story of economic doom and gloom that stocks are missing. This is quite simply wrong. Oh, I agree with them. The Federal Reserve has no reason to move interest rates, but they're at the lower end of the range right now. So bonds are not really necessarily saying that, you know, what bonds are saying is that a recovery is going to take a long time and that the Federal Reserve is going to have to keep the interest rates low for a long time. They're not necessarily saying that there's going to be another wave or that they're going to have to, reduce the rates again or something like that. Wow, the GoFundMe account for George Floyd's family raises more than $8 million. That's too much. Not like it's like they don't deserve it or anything like that, but that is too much for people that have never had money there to be responsible. Well, I hope that they do. So far, the brother seems to be, uh, what is the word? Constructive, helpful. Not like, man, in Ferguson, man, that family was freaking awful. I shouldn't share opinions like that, but it is what it is. They basically told people to go and riot, man. It was not okay. Mm. From virus experts to negative rates experts to riot experts. Tweets the market ear. I tell you what, it was having a there was an argument with somebody else on the internet, and I was like, um, you're wrong, and here's the economic reasoning behind why you're wrong. And they were like, "Oh yeah, you know so much. You're such an expert on this particular topic set." And I'm like, dude, I spend like half of my fucking day every day researching and learning about this stuff. I think I can sit down and say that I know something about it. I think I've earned that right. Doesn't mean that I'm always right, but man, I'm not. You realize who you're talking to, right? You're the person that knows literally nothing. You've never done anything with it in your life. Oh, it's so frustrating arguing with people like that over that. Like, it doesn't even need to be an argument. Like, um, why don't you just argue on the merits? Clearly, you must not think that you really understand the subject enough to argue on the merits, or you would just do that. Am I wrong? Mm, maybe I'm just a douche. Anyways, emerging market currencies are surging, says Forex Live. Donald Trump, Republicans get out and vote today for those great candidates that will lead to big victories on November 3rd. Make America great again. There's some, okay, so they're coming down. I got a pretty good one. Wow. So, Chewy shorted at 30.68, and that's turning out really well. Well, let's check around the internet and see if anything's happening. There's a decent pullback there. They definitely kicked into the average true range stops. You can really see when they hit that too. You see there in the upper right corner, average true range stop when they hit it. Good dish, pretty ugly one. I don't know if that really gives you a really good idea of long or short. I think it's such a great trend indicator though, right? Yeah, somebody was. By the way, I want to add on here, or I just want to check. Somebody was telling me, or in a book I was reading, they were in favor of PSAR, parabolic SAR. What does that do? What does that look like? Ah, parabolic SAR is not bad. Should change the way it looks. It's very messy. It ends up being very messy. It's a dot. Well, what's a better way to do it? What if it's just a line? Hmm. It's a similar thing to it's a similar thing to my ATR. Sometimes it's a little faster, but then it also looks like you get faked out just as often. So I'm not sure if I could find that useful or not. I think that I would have to go back. Oh, they back through the open again, huh? I took that exit and everything. Like I can't even. I know that it was squeezing, and that was I didn't like that it was just running. I wanted to see like another stop run, and then I was gonna get out. But there was like another stop run, and then it was still kind of being slow up there, and that's when I was like, well, I gotta go to the bathroom, and I can't sit and babysit it. So I got out. I wasn't necessarily thinking that it was gonna flip back around like this. I just knew that I wanted to sell into strength, that it came back that much is really surprising to me. Now they're not back to the 56 area. Let's go back and look at our volume profile. Oh, well, there was a lot at 66. There's a lot of trade at 66. So that's really interesting. Oh, so this right here, I don't know what to make of this. Maybe you can tell me. Is it distribution with a really long tail? What does that mean? Let's ask bots here. Okay. So they're coming all the way back down through here. Huh. Huh. I don't see. One of the hardest things that we have to do every day as traders is manage the information we get. There's so much data and headlines that can persuade our decision making. Make the market prove to you it wants to do something. Don't try and prove to the market that it should do something. Well, there's a balance to it, right? I think that you want to have a theory and you want to take a spot and you want to take it before it's absolutely clear that that's what's happening, but you don't want to take it necessarily when it appears like that's not what's happening unless you have some clear signal that says that it's a good spot to do that. but it's kind of that point of maximum um, risk probability, right? The earlier you take it, the more reward there is in it. So you have to find the balance. That came back so fast too. I mean, like there was that up move. It took a while, and they dashed that out in a few short minutes. Hmm. Hmm. I'm just seeing my local police departments. Well, actually, the Provo Police Department. There has been um, a rumor that people are going around knocking on doors, and if you answer the door, they will shoot you. They say, um, please know we, along with other law enforcement agencies throughout the state, are tracking these threats and have found no credibility to validate this threat during these tumultuous times. We are vigilant in protecting our community. It is our mission to safeguard your liberty, solve problems, and stop crime. We are here for you. We love our city. We value relationships with all our citizens. Somebody is trying to freak everybody out. I don't know if they think it's just a joke, or if somebody seems to have some other uh, ulterior motive to be spreading rumors like this. But my take is don't spread rumors. If you can't confirm it, then don't spread it. Which is kind of a difficult situation like that, because what if it's true? And then you could have warned people, but then it's probably not true, and you're freaking people out and causing other problems, right? So I'm seeing some. So something I want to point out is that the E-mini likes to go towards liquidity. So did you see how on the move down, there's this order, well, it pulled, and then there was one there, and then there was one there, and then there was one there. Then some kind of showed up here that stopped it. Now on the way up, do you see them on the way up? Nope, they're all gone. We don't see more of that stuff till way further down at 3051. So now we're developed a no man's land range, essentially, here with the pullback. There was some absorption before that dip too. Oh, 411 versus 787. That's interesting. White House weighs options for next stimulus bill. Interesting. This morning, they're all pretending like everything was hunky dory last night, when it definitely was not. Well, in some places, I guess it was. Conservative icon George Willard's November suite. That's interesting. He is not. I don't think he is. He's always been a establishment guy. I don't necessarily consider him a stalwart conservative. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, well, I don't see anything. Mm, see if there's anything out on social media on the shorter time frames. That move down is a little bit, well, I'm still coming from the perspective of I don't really see a significant reason for us to be moving a ton. So, but that doesn't mean that they can't do it. It just means that I can't predict it. Oh wow. Chicago rioters jammed police radios. That's interesting. Now, what's the treasuries doing at the moment? They're a little thick on the top side, but it's just kind of suggesting that the range is still here. And the E-mini did fall really, really hard down, but they're coming back up and they're coming into that open again. Hmm. It does make you wonder if maybe the selling that we're seeing is there's a little bit more bearishness out there because of the protests now. There's certainly a lot of people are talking about it and think that the market should be reacting to it. I still think that there's no reason that the market has to react to it. But that doesn't mean that it can't if it becomes a sentiment thing. Um, it's acting odd. Well, they're kind of doing some weird stuff at 3060 here now. Mm. Hmm. Well, they're kind of, right here at this 60 area, they're kind of showing resistance again. I'm not sure it makes sense to me, but okay, well. Senator Grassley says not worried that China will fail to keep commitments under Phase 1 China trade agreement in the long term. The White House seems to be trying to change the subject today. Now they're going to go for the lows. Somebody must know. Something must be up that I'm not aware of. Because these sells are incredibly dramatic. They're very dramatic sells. They still stopped short of the low of the day there, huh? That's funny. We get the big absorption again. You know what? I'm so glad that today is a workout rest day. I feel sleepy. RJ Will was saying a break of 30.55 will give you 30.43. Okay, well, let's watch. Maybe Biden's speech, he basically declared Trump an enemy of the state. Where's that? I'm not seeing that anywhere. Let me scroll down here on my regular one. Joe Biden, Black lives have been devalued by our society. Maybe. I feel I'm starting to come around to the idea that as a society we have essentially allowed certain abuses of power in exchange for safety. Now, the issue with that for the protesters, if that is the case, is that by rioting, you justify the public giving that power because this is the reason why they gave it. It's because there's people that apparently want to have chaos, right? The best thing that protesters, well, we've been through this before, right? Best things that protesters can do is be completely calm and nice to the police. I think that that's what they did in Salt Lake City, and I think it went a long way yesterday. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that there will be action, but this is where you got to get into, like, you got to have people that are smart and know how to translate that into action. And Black Lives Matter never had that. There was legislation came through and nothing happened because they proposed preposterous. They wanted communism. Basically, they're like, okay, here, we're going to make a manifesto. This is what we Black Lives Matters want. And it was like, we want communism and reparations and stuff like that. And it was like, okay, not serious movement. You need somebody to come in and make serious reform and kind of like bring it down into specific asks, like having a civilian oversight board. a nationwide civilian oversight board or something like that, that I'm not saying that that's an idea that I would support or that I think is good. I don't know. This is not my area of expertise, but I do know that that's how you got to do it. Is you got to have like specific, what do you want to get? And it's got to be things that the public can get behind. And then RJ Will says that 55 area is holding. Yeah, they're kind of down there towards the bottom. I don't know. They could do it. I don't see why they couldn't go down there. I'm going to be interested to see how many stops there are if they touch 51. Okay. Okay. I think there's a little bit more in her. Come on. No? And they're going to find him somewhere. They're hanging on, but it was sticky. Of course, I don't know for sure, but there tend to be more stops than that below a low like that, right? And it's a low, and it's a poor low as well. Like they've traded it, they've made it go bid, and they just haven't hit into the next price. There is significant absorption here, though. So look at that, 1,500, 1,200. Okay, there you go. That's still not anything terribly dramatic. So there was some strong absorption, and they're pushing down again. They've done this many times today as well. We're getting an outside hourly bar. Do you know what that means, folks? That means price discovery. That means we might be turning around. Oh, let me fix that. I'm sorry. They're rereading all of the most recent tweets because it finally gave it that one last request that it lets through. Oh, is Bitcoin moving? Oh, ouch. Ouchie, ouches. Yeah, that was pretty. Wait a second. Is this not on a tick replay? How come my cumulative delta's not all there? That's kind of weird. I'm on 0620. Is that what the problem is? Is I need to no? My cumulative delta in Bitcoin is not working. Let's try using the built-in cumulative delta. Order flow, cumulative delta. That one's not working either. So why is the tick replay? You know what we probably need to do? Is come in here and you can't even see it. It's behind my face. Mess with it. Probably we need to come in and reload all historical data. Let's do that. Donald Trump tweets, New York City, call up the National Guard. The lowlifes and losers are ripping you apart. Act fast. Don't make the same horrible, deadly mistake you made with the nursing homes. Ooh, wow. That was feisty. Is that why they're selling? It could be. Well, even with my reloading the data, the cumulative delta is broken on that chart. So weird. What if I just changed it to be like, um, 30 minutes? Sure. Sure. 5 minutes is probably better. Nah, 5 minutes is too close. 15. 15 days to load, 90 days. Cool. I should come back and share something with Mr. Brannigan here. Let's generate our chart for today. Lots of errors. 137. 140. The E-mini's still going down. The behavior today is markedly different, isn't it? There's been absorption down at the bottom. It hasn't been as strong as it has in the past, and they blow through it. I think maybe one thing that might be going on is that buyers have just run out of money. Oh, why are you making that the whole screen? Do that. I'll do that. Sorry about that. Okay, so they've been a little bounce here. Do you really think that the market cares what Joe Biden says? I don't know. The theory as for why we're coming down here is a little sketchy to me. I I'm gonna try a different take because I'm still not convinced that the markets care. The sentiment could become a thing, but I don't really think that the markets really care that much from a valuation perspective. I think that there's significant resistance at 3100. 3100. I think that there's reason to believe that the retail traders that have been putting all of the money into the market and moving us up are exhausting their money supplies. They put all of their money in. I think that there's not a whole lot going on, so you can have a day that's dominated by technical moves, and we were up quite strongly overnight. So of course they could come back and we could trade into 3050, and it seems like wow, we're having a really strong sell, and like is the floor falling out and everything, but then you realize, oh yeah, this is like basically prices that we were at yesterday. Ivan says, I love you, Seth. Nice trades, thank you. I'm pretty happy with how we've been performing the past 2 or 3 weeks. So working hard. Oh man, that's what we said last time. ES tanked to 2960, smashed through till it didn't. Well, we might see a more aggressive buy. Hmm. At 830. Huh. That was up there. Super weird. I think I need to I need to move this chart over here for a second. 930. This is the This is to the 930. This is the 730 to 1030 hour. That's why. Okay. 3060. Okay. That was the absorption that we saw before we went higher. Then we went higher, and then we saw it lower again. This is different. It's different. So you think it's going to come back up to 70 or 75? Jeez. Well, we got an outside bar on the hourly. There's indication that the market is going into price discovery mode. I don't know if it means that we're going to go up or down, but I think that it would suggest down. but I don't see what's changing in the real picture. There's something going on underneath that I can't see yet. About as useful as the last 2 napkins I used. Hmm. Well, it's getting down to the bottom of the hour. They are making an okay pullback, so that they could be done. I don't know. It's kind of interesting trading. I mean, I'm still not sure if something more serious is going on. This certainly, when you see action like that, it feels like something more serious is going on, doesn't it? But uh, I don't see any real fundamental news to be driving it, and it could entirely be um, it could entirely be technical trading. Palacio says New York City doesn't need help or want National Guard to help. The National Guard is not trained to quell civil unrest. Yeah, well, you know what, Kumo? At some point, people in New York are going to get sick of their shops. I mean, when their people are looting Macy's, like, come on, are you kidding me? Macy's? That is like right in the heart of the beast, right? Like, that is the most populated area on the planet. And there's lots of people, and it's the largest. Well, maybe it's not the largest retail store, but it's the most famous retail store in the world, and they just loot it. I'm sorry, man, but at some point you're gonna have to do something about that. Now, if it's New York, the market's gonna care more if it's New York, aren't they? It could be sentiment. I could be. It could be, but that could also be a good explanation for why it's kind of moving so rapidly, is because you're going to get some traders that think that it's a big deal, and you get other traders that say that it's not, and that could be part of why it's moving around. When it's New York, the market always kind of cares, though. Well, I should tweet about that later. You know what, though, guys? I think we did a good job. We made $50 on the long. And there's crazy stuff. This Bitcoin move, by the way. Look at that. That's crazy. Hey, there's Ace. You're always coming in late. How have you been? How did you do today, Ace? Did you yeah, how did you do? Who was interesting action today? I got 10 points long, but I got out largely cuz I needed to pee. And I saw some absorb. I mean, I saw some stuff that said maybe we'll stop here. And I wasn't sure if we were going to go past, and we were to my profit. So I was like, okay, you did okay. Wowed the crowd. Good job. Anyways, I got out, and then this sell came in, and I'm like, what's going on? By the way, look at Bitcoin. Nice. I caught some of that long right after. Yeah, it was like after the open. It was a little bit after the open, like 15 minutes after the open. 15 minutes after the open. You could see it on the footprint. They were just absorbing there. I knew that they were going to go for the high. It was kind of strange, though. This is a little bit different because they kind of came up a little bit more. Bitcoin is that still a thing? Yeah, unfortunately. People are talking about it today. I mean, they went up above 10,000 and then somebody immediately sold. So I don't know if that, if Bitcoin moves a little bit lower, like to 9,000, that could be ugly. I don't know if they have enough oomph to do that though. Though this market though, the E-mini, I don't know what's going on. Look at the treasuries. The treasuries are at their lower end of the range. The treasuries don't seem to be thinking that there's anything all that wrong. I do see gold is also falling. Gold is falling too. What the? This is so weird. This is so weird. Gold fall during that whole thing. It's so weird. I don't know what's going on. I think we're gonna learn some things later today that will be interesting, to say the least. But it's 9:30. I think it's time for me to go. Thanks for stopping by, Ace. I'm glad that I kept the stream open for just a little bit so we could say hi. And I guess that's it for now. Oh, you know what? I didn't do our market recap yesterday. Well, you know what? Let's do it. Let's not do it this week. I want to be consistent. Kind of want to compare now and see if my stats change back up, because I did see some changes in the stats. So if I see them change back up, then I know for sure that it's not. Wish me a happy birthday. I know that yours. Okay, happy birthday. Wait, when is your birthday? Your birthday is like soon? Should have a party. I mean, I didn't really have a real party. Wait, I never do anything for my birthday. What am I talking about? I don't want to do anything for my birthday. It's today. Oh wow. Well, next year we're gonna have a joint party, right? Yeah. Okay. I should go. I am gonna go. I said I was gonna go. I'm gonna go. Stay profitable.